"Do you even know what you're signing?" The words cut through the marble foyer like glass, and she froze, pen hovering over a contract that would tie her life to his. The city glittered outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, but inside, the penthouse felt like a cage. He stood behind the mahogany desk, tailored suit impeccable, eyes storm gray and unreadable, as if he had no heart yet somehow. He had just touched hers. "I know exactly what I'm signing," she whispered, and the tremor in her voice betrayed the lie. The scent of his collar and something woody, dangerous slipped into her senses, making her pulse betray her. He moved closer, and for a moment, the world outside the glass walls vanished. The deal was simple, marriage on paper, zero emotions. Yet the air between them hummed with something neither dared to name. She swallowed, knowing one wrong word could shatter her carefully constructed courage. The elevator doors opened, revealing a skyline drenched in neon and night fog. She could feel the pulse of the city, mirrored by the beat in her chest, and knew she was stepping into a world where power came at a price and desire had no rules. He followed silently, a shadow among shadows, watching her every move with predatory precision. The private car smelled of leather and money. It was intoxicating, suffocating. She caught herself imagining the curve of his jaw under her fingertips, a reckless thought that made her gasp quietly. The city passed in streaks of light outside, but the tension inside was electric, taut. She reminded herself he didn't want her, he never wanted anyone. This was about appearances, alliances, and control. Yet when his hand brushed hers by accidento, just an accident, her world tilted, and she tasted the danger that felt suspiciously like longing. The penthouse was a shrine to excess, crystal chandeliers dripping like frozen waterfalls, velvet sofas that swallowed anyone who dared sink into them, and walls lined with art worth more than most could earn in decades. She wandered, trying to ignore him, but she felt the weight of his gaze like gravity. "You'll have your own suite," he said, voice low, commanding, yet oddly intimate. She turned, caught the flicker of something behind the steel-cold mask, a shadow of curiosity, maybe even interest. She wanted to retreat, but the heels she wore kept her moving forward. There was a moment where silence hung like a fragile crystal between them, and she realized she was studying him just as much as he studied her. He was dangerous, untouchable, but somehow magnetic. The contract promised convenience and control, but in his presence, control was already slipping through her fingers. At dinner, the city lights reflected off his wine glass, catching the angles of his face in ways that made her ache without understanding why. She noticed the precision with which he moved, the way every gesture seemed calculated, yet somehow intoxicating. He asked her questions she didn't expect about art, travel, childhood memory, and she found herself answering with more honesty than she intended. His eyes softened, just enough to make her doubt every warning she had ever been given. And yet, when the evening ended, he pulled her close for a formal bow, his hand lingering on her lower back longer than propriety allowed. The heat of his touch branded her skin. She wanted to step away, but her body betrayed her, leaning into the friction, craving the collision between rules and temptation. The contract said one thing, her heart screamed another. The first weekend of their arrangement began in the private wing of his mountain estate, a fortress wrapped in snow and silence. The world outside was cold, but inside, firelight danced across his sharp features, and the air between them felt like a live wire. She tried to read him, to gauge whether this icy exterior was armor or invitation. "You know," he murmured while adjusting the cuff of his sleeve, "this doesn't have to feel like work." Her pulse skipped, the words were casual, but the weight behind them made her shiver. He poured wine with a precision that mirrored his control, yet when their fingers brushed, the spark ignited something neither could deny. There was a dangerous intimacy in sharing a space alone with a man who promised nothing yet made her ache for everything. In the private library, she found him standing by the rare books, pretending not to notice her presence, pretending to be the unflinching CEO everyone feared. She hovered near the shelves, pretending to browse, feeling the heat of his nearness like a physical force. "Do you ever let yourself be someone else?" she asked quietly, voice trembling with daring curiosity. He turned, gaze sharp, calculating but not unkind. "I don't allow myself the luxury," he said, and the words wrapped around her like a shiver. A book slipped from the shelf accidentally, or maybe not, and she bent to pick it up. Their hands brushed, lingering longer than reason permitted. That brush was a spark in a winter of restraint, and for the first time, she wondered if the contract was really about marriage or about awakening something neither of them could contain. She woke to the first snow of winter blanketing the estate. The morning light fell over him as he watched the view from the window, sharp angles of his jaw softened by the glow. He didn't speak, but the room hummed with unsaid words. She slipped beside him, careful not to break the fragile spell, and felt the warmth of his shoulder through the cashmere of his coat. He didn't move away. Instead, the tension settled like a shared secret. For a heartbeat, the world reduced to snow, silk, and the slow rhythm of a breath between two people who weren't supposed to feel anything but obligation. She wanted to say something, anything, but fear tangled her tongue. Yet the ache in her chest told her she was too late to stop the slow unraveling. The gala arrived like a storm, paparazzi flashing, champagne spilling, gowns glinting like armor. She wore a dress that felt like liquid gold, knowing he would notice, yet she was not prepared for the way his eyes darkened, fixating on her with a heat that wasn't meant to exist in public. When they arrived, the room fell away, the noise dimming to a background hum. He steered her through the crowd with a hand at her lower back, guiding her like a shadow of ownership, though no one had the right to own her. Every glance, every brush of his fingers against hers, was a silent claim she couldn't resist. And when someone from the press asked if this was love, he didn't answer, but the smolder in his gaze told a story no one could print. Later, in the secluded terrace above the city, the wind tugged at her hair as he approached silently. "You're dangerous," he said, voice low, almost a growl. She turned to face him, surprised, pulse hammering. "Why?" she whispered. "Because you make me want something I swore I'd never want," he confessed, and the words hung between them like fire and ice. His hands found her waist, hesitant, testing boundaries she didn't want to define. She leaned into him, daring him to cross the line, knowing the moment could change everything. And then, just as their lips were about to meet, a flash of paparazzi cameras broke the spell, throwing them both into a reality neither could fully escape. Back in the penthouse, the tension was suffocating. She was perched on the edge of the velvet sofa, waiting for him to speak, waiting for him to reclaim the control that had been shattered in that single, stolen moment. He closed the door behind him, tall and unyielding, yet there was a softness in the way he regarded her. "We can't," he said simply, but his eyes betrayed him. Storming with emotion he refused to name. She wanted to argue, to fight, to leap into the fire of him, but the words caught in her throat. They were tethered together by paper, yet unbound in every other way. The weight of attraction pressed against them like a storm gathering strength. Night deepened, and the city lights flickered through the windows. She found herself in the kitchen, making tea as if mundane rituals could anchor her heart. He appeared behind her, close enough that the heat of his body brushed her back. "You're impossible," he muttered, and she laughed softly, though her chest was tight with longing. His hands lingered at her shoulders, tracing patterns that were both comforting and dangerous. Silence stretched between them, full of things neither could articulate. She wanted to pull back, but every instinct urged her forward. The line between obligation and desire blurred with every stolen glance, every breath held too long. He appeared at her door the next morning, dressed in the armor of a man who owned everything but himself. "I can't pretend anymore," he said, voice low, almost breaking. She stepped closer, heart hammering. The contract was meaningless now, but stepping forward meant risking everything. He reached out, hand trembling slightly, and the air around them shimmered with promise and peril. The door closed behind them with a soft click. A sudden knock startled them both. She froze. He froze. They turned toward the sound, and the figure in the doorway was someone neither expected, someone whose presence could unravel everything. The secret he had kept, the walls he had built, were about to crumble. The first morning after the paparazzi intrusion was heavy with unspoken tension. She found him on the terrace, staring out at the city with his hands buried in his pockets, jaw tight. The air smelled faintly of rain and his coloncy sharp, addictive. "Did you sleep?" she asked cautiously, stepping closer. He didn't turn, but the heat radiating from him made her knees weak. "Not really," he murmured, voice low, almost private. Every fiber of her body wanted to cross the distance, to press against him, but she paused, aware of the line they weren't supposed to cross. He finally faced her, and the storm in his eyes mirrored the one she felt inside. One step closer and she could feel the electricity pulsing between them. One step closer and everything, the contract, the walls, the rules, threatened to crumble in the most delicious way imaginable. The charity gala was a world of glittering gowns and whispered deals, but she only noticed him. From across the room, his eyes found hers, sharp and possessive, warning anyone daring to step too close. His hand brushed hers as they moved through the crowd, and the contact ignited a warmth that had nothing to do with the chandelier lights. Waiters passed with silver trays, but she barely saw them, entranced by the way his lips curved in the faintest unreadable smile. Then, a socialite she barely knew approached, laughing, and his hand closed over hers like a vice. "She's with me," he said, barely audible, yet every word carried weight. The edges of the world sharpened, wealth, power, danger, but in that private bubble of space, it was only her and him, their attraction simmering beneath the surface, dangerous and uncontainable. Late nights in the private library became their escape. Shelves towered, dust motes floating in the glow of the desk lamp. She traced the spines of rare books, pretending to study, while he lingered near the desk, a silent sentinel. Their hands brushed while reaching for the same volume, and she felt her heart leap. "Do you ever let yourself want something?" she asked softly. His gaze was intense, unreadable, the air between them thick with tension. "I try not to," he admitted. The truth vibrated through the room. She wanted to close the distance, to let their almost kiss become real, but fear and decorum held her back. And yet, when their fingers lingered, the contact seared her, and she realized how dangerously close they had come to collapsing the carefully constructed barriers that kept desire at bay. He surprised her one evening with a private rooftop dinner. The city sprawled beneath them like a glittering ocean. The wine was rich, the food decadent, but she could barely focus. His gaze followed her every movement. He leaned close to adjust a strand of hair brushing her cheek, and the scent of his cologne wrapped around her, making her pulse spike. "I don't usually do this," he murmured, voice low, intimate. Her hand brushed his arm, a simple, innocent gesture that sent shivers down her spine. They sat in silence for a long moment, the hum of the city below fading into irrelevance. Then he reached across the table, fingertips grazing hers, and the electricity in that brief touch was undeniable. Her breath caught, and she wanted to speak, to move closer, but the rules of their arrangement loomed between them like an invisible wall. The past arrived without warning. A man from his history, someone she recognized from the tabloids, appeared at the penthouse door, eyes calculating, a smirk that chilled her. "I see you've moved on," he said to her, tone layered with insinuation. She stiffened, caught in a storm of curiosity and dread. He stepped forward, protective and impossibly close, his hand brushing hers as if claiming territory. "What do you want?" he asked, voice low, dangerous. The intruder's smile widened, hinting at secrets and scandals that could ruin everything. She noticed the way his jaw tightened, the muscles in his neck flexing with tension. For the first time, she glimpsed the empire he commanded, not just of wealth, but of enemies, rivals, and secrets. Her heart raced, not from fear alone, but from the dangerous thrill of being pulled into a storm, entangled with a man who could destroy or protect with equal ease. A revelation came in whispers, late one night, when she discovered a hidden safe in his office. The contents a folder with another identity. A web of corporate maneuvering she could barely comprehend shook her to her core. He wasn't just a billionaire CEO, he was something else entirely. Someone operating behind layers of secrecy. When he caught her staring at it, his expression darkened, unreadable. "You shouldn't have seen that," he said, voice tight with tension. Her fingers trembled, heart hammering with betrayal and fascination. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. His eyes softened, briefly, then hardened. "Because I can't risk anyone knowing," he said. Yet, as he stepped closer, their proximity ignited a current she couldn't resist. She wanted answers, but the truth came wrapped in danger and desire, impossible to untangle. They spent a rain-soaked evening in the penthouse kitchen, talking in low voices, walls falling away with each confession. She admitted fears she hadn't voiced aloud. He revealed cracks in his armor hidden beneath decades of control. The storm outside mirrored the storm inside, lightning illuminating the contours of his face. Their hands found each other unconsciously, gripping, trembling, communicating in touch what words could not. "You're not supposed to feel this," he whispered, near her ear, and the vibration of his words sent goosebumps along her skin. "Neither are you," she replied, voice raw. He leaned closer, breath warm against her cheek, but stopped just short of crossing the line, leaving the almost kiss suspended in charged anticipation. Every heartbeat was shared, every glance a battle between restraint and surrender. A confrontation erupted the next morning, fueled by rumors from the man of his past. She accused, trembling, of deceit and manipulation. Was any of it real? She demanded, heart splintering. He stood motionless, fingers tight around the balcony railing. "Every moment with you has been real," he said, voice raw, emotion slipping past the steel. The confession hung in the air like fragile glass. Tears filled her eyes, rage and longing warring within her. She wanted to believe, to collapse into his arms, but the shadow of the contract and the secrets he carried loomed too large. He reached for her, fingertips grazing her jawline, and the friction sent electricity through both of them. It was almost a kiss. Almost love, but almost was dangerous in a world built on power and expectation. The tension followed them into a weekend retreat, a secluded lake house far from the city. Nights were spent by the fire, bodies close, the scent of pine and his cologne mixing in the small space. She felt the pull of him, irresistible, intoxicating, a gravity she couldn't escape. Late one night, hands intertwined, she whispered fears of the arrangement, of the world they inhabited. He brushed a strand of hair from her face, lips hovering near hers, breathing mingling. "I want more than this," he admitted, voice low, almost a growl. The words were both promise and threat. Desire simmered like an untamed fire, but the world outside the cabin threatened to extinguish it. They were on the edge, teetering between surrender and restraint, every second loaded with electric tension. In the penthouse gym, he cornered her playfully but with a dangerous edge, catching her as she tried to escape a mock chase. Their bodies pressed, his hand at her waist, her back against the polished steel column. Breaths came fast, eyes locked. "You're reckless," he murmured, lips almost grazing hers. "You make it impossible to stay indifferent." The heat between them was suffocating. She laughed nervously, trying to push him away, but the resistance was weak. Every muscle in her body wanted to collapse into his, yet propriety, contracts, and the world of power and wealth kept them at the precipice. They were suspended in a moment, charged with near kisses, whispered confessions, and the constant, tantalizing threat of giving in. A message arrived from his adversary, one that threatened the very empire he built. Papers, legal threats, secrets exposed. He froze, jaw tight, and she saw the rare cracks in his control. "I can't let them touch us," he said, eyes dark. She stepped forward, hand on his chest, feeling the tremor beneath the tailored suit. "Then we fight together," she whispered. His gaze softened, but the tension in his shoulders remained. Their alliance became more than contracted, became necessity, a binding of hearts and strategy. In that moment, danger, desire, and loyalty collided, and she realized their connection had grown into something neither power nor scandal could sever. The first real kiss happened in the heat of crisis, on the terrace as wind tore through the city, papers flying from the intruder's threats. He pulled her close, lips finally meeting hers in a desperate, fierce collision. The world blurred, lights, wind, danger, and all that existed was the fire between them. She felt the truth in his embrace, the obsession, the care, the longing he could no longer deny. The kiss broke only when reality intruded, and they clung to each other, hearts racing, breathless. The night had changed them, their contract meaningless now against the tide of real emotion. But outside, shadows stirred, threats looming, and neither knew if the world would let them survive this newfound passion. The morning brought revelation, a hidden ledger revealing betrayals within his company. Secrets that could destroy him and implicate her by proximity. He caught her examining it, anger and worry colliding in his gaze. "Why didn't you tell me you found it?" he demanded, voice low, trembling with tension. She swallowed hard, heart pounding, and confessed what she'd seen. His hands gripped her arms, holding her with frightening intensity, but his eyes softened. "Then we deal with it together," he said, almost a plea. The partnership between them shifted, no longer contractually bound, but emotionally fused, tested by danger, desire, and trust. The storm of wealth, enemies, and secret pasts now defined their world, but for the first time, they faced it as allies and as something dangerously, irrevocably more. The penthouse felt smaller than ever, suffocating under the weight of looming deadlines. The contract was nearly over, each day a countdown ticking toward separation. She wandered from room to room, hands brushing against cold marble, trying to anchor herself in the fleeting moments they could steal. He appeared behind her, silent, hands in his pockets, jaw tight. She turned, breath catching. "We don't have much time," she whispered. His gaze softened, haunted, and he took her hand, a rare act of vulnerability. "I know," he murmured, voice low, trembling. The tension was unbearable. Each second together felt borrowed, stolen from a world that demanded they remain apart, their fingers intertwined, reluctant yet desperate. Every glance, every brush of skin was heavy with unspoken confession. The city beyond the windows seemed distant, meaningless, while their hearts raced, counting down the minutes they had left to claim something the world might never allow. Family pressure struck next, subtle and brutal. Invitations arrived for engagements, galas, and meetings meant to steer him toward a proper, acceptable bride. She watched him receive them, stoic, jaw tight, every polite smile a betrayal of the storm inside. One evening she found him alone in the study, hands gripping the armrests of his chair, shoulders hunched under invisible weight. "They want me to choose the right name, not the right heart," he admitted, voice breaking for the first time. She moved closer, silent, trembling. The air between them was thick with longing, with words neither dared say. He finally reached for her, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face, and the intimacy of that small touch was devastating. They were so close, yet so forbidden. Every moment together carried urgency, desire, and a fear that time might end before they could seize what they truly wanted. A threat emerged from the shadows, a rival poised to expose his secrets, ruin his empire, and drag her into the fallout. He refused to tell her everything, protective yet cold, and she sensed the danger threading through their lives like poison. That night she lingered outside his office, watching the lamplight through the blinds, heart aching. He stepped out, coat heavy with rain, eyes storm dark, jaw clenched. He didn't speak at first, just let the storm wash over him, water mingling with the tension between them. She stepped forward, hand reaching for his arm. "Let me help," she whispered, his glance softened, almost broken. "I can't risk you," he said. But the way he held her, the tremor in his fingers, betrayed him. He needed her, needed the comfort she gave, even as his world demanded he keep her at a distance. Late-night conversations became their sanctuary. By the fireplace, city lights bleeding through the floor-to-ceiling windows, they talked in hushed tones. Words tumbled out, fears, desires, regrets. Each secret shared felt like both a relief and a risk. He leaned closer, fingertips brushing hers over the coffee table. Electricity sparked, undeniable. She wanted to reach, to erase all barriers, but the contract, the obligations, the outside pressures loomed. Their hearts raced in tandem. Every laugh, every sigh, carried more weight than the crisis beyond the walls. When his hand finally covered hers, fingers entwined, it was not just contact, it was promise. Yet still, the world outside demanded compromise. Each stolen moment was bittersweet, infused with the knowledge that tomorrow could tear them apart, that one misstep could erase all they had begun to feel. leaving only regret and longing in its place. The gala was chaos, cameras flashed, whispers spread, and his family's scrutiny burned hotter than any spotlight. She felt exposed, yet he never let go of her hand, protective and possessive. A competitor approached, smooth, smiling, attempting to claim proximity, to test the line he would not cross. He turned sharply, eyes blazing, and the energy between them roared. "Back off," he said, voice quiet but lethal. Every heartbeat screamed for release, for passion forbidden by circumstance. They found refuge in the terrace, the city stretching beneath them. He held her close, forehead to forehead, breaths mingling. "I can't lose you," he whispered. She pressed against him, trembling. The contract's shadow loomed, deadlines approaching, yet the promise in his arms was stronger than any paper. The tension had shifted there, almost love had become an undeniable force neither could deny. A night storm erupted, rain pounding against the glass as he stood on the terrace, coat clinging, muscles taut. She approached, heart in her throat, her dress soaked. "You shouldn't be out here," she said, voice breaking. He didn't turn. "I need to decide," he whispered, eyes distant. Her hands found his, icy and wet, yet her grip was desperate. "Then choose me," she said, breathless, unwavering. He finally turned, rain streaming over his face, and in that instant, all the power, fear, and obligation melted away. His eyes burned with a mix of torment and desire, and for the first time, he let the world fall away, leaving only her. Time suspended, heartbeats thundered. The storm mirrored the chaos in their souls. One choice, one confession, could change everything. One kiss could defy contracts, enemies, and expectations. They stole a morning together in the penthouse, moments suspended, brushing fingers over stolen coffee cups, leaning too close over shared papers. The world felt paused, fragile. She traced the line of his jaw while he studied a contract, then looked up, meeting her gaze. "Every second I spend with you is borrowed," he whispered, voice low, shaking. "Then we steal what we can," she replied. They collided in a quiet kiss, desperate and soft, carrying months of tension and longing. The walls they'd built, the rules, the contracts gone for now, at least in these stolen hours. Each glance, each sigh, carried both vulnerability and desire. The outside world loomed, waiting to intrude, but in this fragile bubble, their hearts dared to beat freely. They knew the countdown would continue, yet for now, the fire between them raged unchecked. A revelation struck when she discovered a letter he had hidden, a family ultimatum demanding he marry a wealthy heiress or risk losing everything. Her stomach dropped. She confronted him, hands trembling. "You're choosing her," she accused, tears brimming. His eyes widened, guilt and desire fighting within them. "I would never," he said, voice raw. The air between them was charged with betrayal, fear, and unspoken love. He stepped forward, closing the distance, fingers brushing her wet cheeks. "You are my choice. You've always been my choice," he said. Silence fell, broken only by the storm outside. The contract, the obligations, the threats, they all threatened to steal her from him. But in that moment, his declaration was all that mattered. Desire, truth, and risk converged in the heated space between them. The contract's final day loomed, bringing tension to a fever pitch. Enemies had made their move, sending threats, rumors, and financial attacks. They moved through the chaos side by side, hand in hand, but the fear of separation gnawed at them. In a rare, quiet moment, he pulled her into the study, rain beating against the windows. "I can't lose you, not to them, not to this arrangement, not to anyone," he confessed. Her heart ached, pulse racing. "Then don't," she whispered, leaning into him. The electricity in that embrace was suffocating. Everything, the city, the empire, the enemies fell away. All that remained was the inevitability of their connection, the urgency of stolen time, and the desperate, intoxicating ache to claim what had been denied for too long. In the pouring rain, they found themselves on the terrace once more, city lights blurred behind droplets. He held her tightly, coat pressed around her. "I choose you," he shouted, voice carrying over thunder, over fear. She clutched him, tears mingling with the rain, and the world seemed to collapse into the moment. Contracts, expectations, enemies, none mattered. He stepped back, tearing a folder of papers in half, the symbol of all that had tried to separate them destroyed. "It's us," he whispered. She kissed him, wet, desperate, long overdue. The storm raged around them, but inside that embrace, nothing could touch them. This was surrender. This was claiming. This was love beyond contracts, beyond fear, beyond everything that had tried to keep them apart. The aftermath was a fragile calm. They returned inside, soaked and shivering, yet smiling. He pressed a towel to her hair, lingering close, sharing warmth and stolen intimacy. The penthouse felt alive, no longer a fortress of obligation but a home of shared vulnerability. Outside, the city carried on, indifferent to the battles fought and won within these walls. They moved slowly, savoring the aftermath, knowing danger still lurked but unwilling to let it dictate the heart. Every glance, every brush of fingers across a table was an affirmation. The contract was gone, yet the choice to be together had been made irrevocable. Their love, born of tension, risk, and desire, had survived the storm, and for the first time they believed it could thrive. Enemies still lingered, yet they faced them together, strategizing, laughing, touching, building trust into each plan. He taught her the nuances of his world, the empire she had unknowingly stepped into, while she reminded him of softness, of humanity, of what mattered beyond power. Nights were spent in quiet, stolen moments, kitchen counters, library corners, terrace under starsage, one a reminder of survival and passion entwined. The closeness grew, love deepened, yet the thrill of danger remained. Each touch carried weight, each gaze bore memory. They were no longer just lovers, they were partners, allies, and something far more profound, proof that the heart could prevail in a world of steel and ambition. A final confrontation with a rival solidified their bond. The man from his past appeared, threats ready, smiles sharp. But together, they faced him, hands clasped, hearts aligned, trust unbroken. Every move, every decision was seamless. In the end, the rival left defeated, powerless against the unity of desire and determination. They collapsed into each other afterward, breaths heavy, rain outside forgotten. His hands traced her face, memorizing. "Nothing can take you from me now," he whispered. She smiled, a mixture of relief, love, and exhaustion. The penthouse, the city, the world, none could compete with the gravity between them. They had fought time, contracts, family, enemies, and emerged as one. And in that victory, the weight of their almost love became something real, undeniable, eternal. The final morning brought sunlight through the penthouse windows, gold and warm. They lingered in bed, fingers entwined, hearts slowing after weeks of chaos. Coffee in hand, he kissed her temple, murmuring promises and private jokes. She rested against him, feeling both fragile and invincible. Outside, the world moved on, indifferent, but inside, love had conquered. The storm, the threats, the contracts all dissolved into memory. They were no longer running from anything. They were running toward life together, fully, recklessly, without apology. Every glance, every brush of hands, every smile sealed the truth. Desire had won, love had won, and finally, they could breathe. Sunlight spilled across the penthouse floor, warm and forgiving. She awoke to the scent of fresh coffee drifting from the kitchen. He moved with ease, shirt sleeves rolled, tie loosened, a domesticity she had never imagined in a man of his power. She watched him pour the coffee, small movements intimate and unguarded. He hummed softly, the sound low and personal, filling the penthouse with life. She realized, in the slow curl of morning light and steam, that this him, this apartment, this quiet chaos was forever. There was no contract, no countdown, no enemies pressing in, just the two of them, fragile and indestructible at once. She stepped closer, letting herself watch him with the intensity of love that had survived storms, threats, and stolen time. The warmth of him, the simple act of care, anchored her in a reality she had once thought impossible. He handed her the cup, fingers brushing hers, lingering just long enough to set her pulse racing. "I made it exactly how you like it," he said, voice soft, steady, personal. She smiled, heart swelling with a calm she had never known amid their chaos. It wasn't about power or obligation anymore, it was about moments like this. She sipped, feeling the heat travel through her, the smell of him still lingering, wrapping around her senses like a promise. He leaned against the counter, eyes watching her with quiet intensity. The city outside roared with life, but here, in the morning light, there was silence, intimacy, and a kind of trust only forged in fire. She realized she wasn't his contract wife. She was the woman who had saved him from himself, and he had saved her in return. The day unfolded slowly, luxuriously. They moved through the penthouse in tandem, sharing mundane tasks, laundry, unpacking a new shipment of books, arranging flowers in crystal vases. Each gesture carried weight, intimacy, and humor. He poured water for her plants while she arranged the petals, hands brushing occasionally, sparks tiny but deliberate. "You always know how to make chaos beautiful," he murmured, eyes crinkling at the corners. She laughed, feeling a freedom she had never known. There were no contracts, no threats, no deadlines, looming only the slow cadence of shared life, the delicate architecture of love rebuilt from near ruin. Every glance held unspoken gratitude, every touch a reminder of the storms survived. This was life as it should have been, messy, beautiful, unguarded, and theirs. Later, she found him in the library, sprawled among rare books, engrossed in a volume he had left unfinished. She perched beside him, head resting on his shoulder, listening to the quiet scratch of the pen as he jotted notes. His hand found hers, fingers lacing together naturally. He leaned his head against hers, sighing softly, eyes closed, and she felt the depth of peace in this simple contact. "I could stay like this forever," she whispered. He opened one eye, smirk tugging at his lips. "Then we shall," he replied, voice low and tender, carrying weight of promises, battles, and confessions. No grand declarations were needed, they were already intertwined, hearts synchronized, their world rebuilt from ashes, one touch, one smile, one shared silence at a time. The first weekend away arrived, a cabin in the mountains, snow falling quietly around them. He watched her laugh as she made a snow angel, cheeks flushed, hair damp from falling flakes. She caught his gaze, and for the first time, she saw no armor, no shadow, only wonder and devotion. He pulled her close, warmth radiating, lips grazing her temple in a quiet kiss. They walked hand in hand, barefoot in the snow, laughing against the cold, sharing words and silences that carried the weight of every challenge they had survived. The world beyond the mountains might still demand and threaten, but here, love had won fully, indisputably. She rested her head against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart, proof that every storm had led to this, to now, to forever. A letter arrived unexpectedly, a family invitation, but this time it felt different. She watched him read it, smile soft, lips twitching with amusement rather than tension. "I could attend, or we could stay here," he suggested. She laughed softly, heart swelling. "We'll stay," she said. There was no debate, no sense of obligation or no desire, only the understanding that their priorities were now carved from choice, not duty. That night, they stayed by the fireplace, wine in hand, hands entwined, speaking quietly of dreams, travel, and laughter. The city lights beyond the windows twinkled like witnesses. He rested his forehead against hers. "We've earned this," he said. She smiled, knowing he meant both the quiet peace and the battles survived to reach it. One evening he led her to the terrace. City lights sprawled beneath them like liquid gold. He held her tightly, gaze soft, yet with that familiar undercurrent of intensity. "I want to do it properly," he murmured, voice husky. She tilted her head, curious, breath shallow. He dropped to one knee, a simple velvet box in his hand, eyes locked on hers, vulnerable and raw. "No contract, no obligation, just us. Will you marry me not on paper, but in every way that matters?" Tears pooled in her eyes. "Yes," she breathed, voice trembling. He slipped the ring onto her finger, and they rose together, the city sprawling below, hearts beating as one. Every past struggle, every stolen glance, every threat and storm had led to this singular moment of triumph and love. They returned inside, still holding hands, moving slowly through the penthouse now fully alive with domestic life. He poured her bathwater, set flowers by the edge, and she watched him with quiet awe, thinking how every gesture spoke of care, devotion, and the quiet rebuilding of a life together. "You're home," she whispered, voice soft but absolute. He paused, eyes lifting, smiling like she had never seen before. "You're my home," he said, and she realized that phrase carried the weight of every storm, every obstacle, every almost love. Finally realized. She leaned into him, pressing her forehead to his chest, and for the first time in years, the world outside the penthouse could roar as much as it liked it, no longer mattered. Evenings became their sanctuary. They cooked together, slow and deliberate, dancing in the kitchen to music only they could hear. He dipped her in a playful spin, and she laughed, the sound spilling through the apartment, alive, warm. Each touch, each glance, each fleeting moment carried significance, a contrast to the chaos they had endured. There was no tension, no expectation beyond mutual love. She traced his face with gentle fingers, memorizing the line of his jaw, the crinkle of his eyes when he smiled. "You saved me," he murmured, "and you saved yourself," she replied. The quiet intimacy was profound, a testament to endurance, patience, and the unshakable gravity of their bond. One night, rain whispered against the glass, but inside, they were untouchable. Wrapped in blankets on the terrace, sipping wine, he held her close, chin resting atop her head. She sighed, the weight of months gone. Storms survived, and hearts revealed lifting from her chest. "I never believed in love like this," she admitted, voice soft. "Me neither," he whispered, arms tightening. They watched the city lights flicker and pulse, mirrored in each other's eyes. Silence fell, unbroken, and yet saturated with meaning. No words could improve upon the perfection of that moment, to souls claiming each other fully, safely, without compromise or fear. Morning came again, slow and golden. He made breakfast, the aroma of coffee and eggs filling the air. She wandered in, hair damp from shower, still wrapped in his sweater. He handed her a plate, fingers brushing hers, and for the first time, she smiled fully, completely, at the reality they had forged. The penthouse was no longer a stage for power, it was their home. She laughed at a small joke he made, heart swelling. He watched her, eyes full, teeth showing in rare vulnerability. "You are my world," he whispered, voice low but commanding. She pressed a kiss to his chest, and in that touch, every past storm, every fear, every stolen moment crystallized into permanence. Weeks passed in quiet joy. They moved seamlessly through life meetings, dinners, travel, but the intimacy of home remained their anchor. He kissed her awake. She brewed his morning coffee. They argued playfully about trivialities and laughed freely at the city below. Each shared glance carried the weight of trust rebuilt. Each touch reaffirmed love chosen, not forced. The city outside pulsed with business and intrigue, but inside, time bent to their rhythm. Their love was now a quiet rebellion, a victory over chaos. She leaned against him one night, city lights glinting behind their silhouettes. "I never thought a contract could lead here," she whispered. He smiled, pulling her closer. "Some contracts," he replied, voice soft, "become gifts. The final scene unfolded on the terrace, night thick and quiet, city lights twinkling like distant stars. He wrapped his arms around her, jaw resting atop her head, chest rising and falling with steady heartbeats. She pressed a hand to his chest, feeling the steady rhythm beneath her fingers. "I love you," she whispered, voice soft yet heavy with everything survived. He tilted his head, lips grazing her temple, eyes lighting with a rare, unguarded smile. "And I love you," he replied, voice low, rich, eternal. They stood together, a silhouette against the lights of the city. No contracts, no obligations, only love. Strangers had become each other's world. Storms had become gifts. And in the quiet brilliance of night, they knew love had found them in the most unexpected places, and this was only the beginning.